Before the break, we took a look at the public's obsession with celebrities. We're in a sports-mad country. How well do our sports stars fare in the endorsement game? Melinda and Oresti are still with us. Joining us now is Paul Mitchell, Managing Director of Siavuma Sports Agency. Welcome, Paul.
Good afternoon.
To start with you, sports stars are almost reluctant celebrities, aren't they? Because they're not necessarily as eloquent or glamorous as celebrities. So how do you turn a sports star into a celebrity?
It's quite a difficult one. I guess it depends on what part of the sports world you're based in, and we're based purely in football. So to give you a good example would be, we represent Matthew Booth.
Right.
So basically, when Matthew Booth came back from Russia to play in the PSL for Sundowns, he was then called into the Bafana setup and into the Confederations Cup. And he became sort of a cult hero. And everybody around the world wanted a piece of Matthew Booth and actually his wife Sonia, who is, you know, in her own right very famous now.
Right.
So we sort of were approached by various companies at the time. We did a big sponsorship with LG, where they became the two of them became brand ambassadors. Matthew also did spirulina, the vitamin product, on his own, and it's worked very well. And I think basically it all depends on your player or your sports star fitting in with the brand and fitting in with what the brand actually wants to do. So for LG, they were wanting to go down the line of looking for a couple, or who were sort of environmentally conscious, which Matthew and Sonia are, who were clean image, family orientated.
But Oresti, do you think if a sports star has a bad game, that will affect, the brand?
Yeah, I don't think it does. But I mean, the brand does take a risk. I mean, Matthew Booth played in the Confed Cup. Yeah, he was selected for the World Cup, but sat on the bench. I mean, I'm sure LG was expecting. I think it would have paid off for LG a lot more if he had played. So they do take that risk, and that's life.
They definitely must have been disappointed at that. But as you say, it's a risk you take. Some you win, some you lose.
I think it was to a degree, but at the same time, worldwide, Matthew and Sonia together were absolutely massive. I mean, I had phone calls.
Powerful celebrity couple, aren't they?
Yeah, but I had phone calls from, we did a lot of media exposure, we did a lot of filming from Poland to Portugal to New York to, the Caribbean. And basically, I think even though Matthew didn't actually play in the World Cup, the exposure he was given, which obviously he gives LG the exposure because people, aligning with LG.
But I think that's another thing about having celebs, is that you can actually use them across countries. You know what I'm saying? So when they say act global, think local with a celeb, you can actually go global as well.
And what happened with the World Cup as well was Sonia was actually used then in the English media to sort of promote the whole WAG thing and the whole sort of entourage that were apparently going to come with the English footballers. So
who never came.
Who never really came.
But everybody's disappointment. So she was the only WAG around.
Yeah, at the same time, it sort of worked well as well for that.
So do you think, Melinda, that we put too much expectations on sports stars, especially when it comes to morals? Because I think if we look at other celebrities, you kind of expect them to, react in a certain way or behave in a certain way. But when it comes to sports stars and there's a sex scandal, man.
Yeah, it depends on the sports star's image, definitely. I mean, Michael Phelps was caught for smoking a bong. He was photographed doing marijuana, and Kellogg's dropped him.
Yeah.
But Michael Phelps is a young single guy who everybody understands has won 8 Olympic medals. Clearly he must let loose sometimes. Maybe he does something that's not entirely legal, but that wasn't that bad. But then you have Tiger Woods, who's a family man, who is seen with his family, and then if he steps outside the boundaries of that, even if it was a little misstep, not the one of the magnitude that he did, people do come down harder on them. I mean, it depends on the person and what their image is, really.
I think also, as well as an agency, I think you've got fundamental responsibility to your clients and to the sort of the brands that you're working with to ensure that your client fits in with their brand. So, I might have a client like Matthew Booth, for example, which I know I can put with this brand or that brand, but I might have another client that I think, well, wait on a minute, you know, I don't think we'll go with that brand. So I think it's also about you understanding your clients and understanding not only your clients as individuals, but also their lifestyle, their family background, etc.
I think what Melinda was trying to say is that here's Tiger Woods, and everyone's looking up to him as a sports star, as a family man. So I don't think you can always have the foresight that, you know, the scandal's going to break.
No, you can't. But I think also you probably would have an early indication. I guess somebody who was managing Tiger Woods at the time had a very early indication that there was something going on.
But he was such a big star that people still wanted to align with that brand.
And I think it's a bit.
And I suppose they take that chance.
Damage limitation then. But I think talking about the Wayne Rooney escapade at the moment, whether it's true or it's not true, you know, will that affect young children going out to buy a Rooney shirt with, you know, Nike on it, Manchester United? No, it won't.
No.
It won't.
I don't think it will. I mean, I also think whether it's Wayne Rooney or Tiger Woods, if Tiger Woods carries on playing really well, the brands are going to forget about it, people are going to forget about it, they're going to follow Tiger again. If he keeps playing badly all the time, if you have one bad game, it's cool. If you have many bad games, then it's a problem.
But what about Tiger the brand? Will Tiger the brand recover?
Well,
what do you think, Rusty?
It will recover in some ways, but he'll just have to realign himself. You know, that's the issue.
I think Tiger the brand has taken a knock because part of his untouchability was the fact that he was untouchable within his family. He had a certain social setup, which he now doesn't, and that must shake any person. So from that point of view, he's not as confident. And I mean, the breakup of a marriage would make anybody less confident wherever you are wherever you work, whether it's on a golf course or in an office. So I think from that point of view, the brand has taken a knock. And it'll change. He's now a single guy, and it'll be different.
I think as well, it's the people he's got around him, his advice he's given. I mean, if you saw Sky News this morning, it was in Wales actually, where they're doing the Ryder Cup. So there's all the players from the Ryder Cup, English and European, coming down the stairs at this function with their wives and girlfriends. And Tiger came down on his own, looking very sheepish. People now will start to feel, oh, look at Tiger, you know, feeling a bit sorry for him. So it'll be a full reversal. He'll probably play in the Ryder Cup this week, play, you know, absolutely brilliant like he can. And like you say, everything will be forgotten. They'll start to then reinvent Tiger as a new brand.
It's at the time, I think, that the problem exists. That people, I mean, to step away from sport for a second, Cocaine Kate Moss, she was dropped by every single of her endorsers, and they all came back a year later, and even more so.
And even more so.
Even more so. So they decided, well, she's edgy, what this has done, it hasn't destroyed her. It shows that she's edgy, and we want an edgy celebrity.
Do you think as South Africa, we are a forgiving nation?
I think it depends on the transgression.
Let's look at Joost.
Well, we'll have to see. Joost lost his job, and I think it was probably because he lied more than what he did wrong. Because other people cheat on their wives, that happens, but it's how you deal with that afterwards.
And coming out in a book.
Yes, coming out in a book,
way
you know, trying to manipulate the situation to make yourself look good. Sometimes you just have to say, you know, I screwed up, I'm sorry, and forgive me.
Because always you always
qualifications.
You're always the one to say that everyone's a human.
Yeah, absolutely, and we make mistakes, and I think people accept it, but don't lie. I think
that's probably Trevor Noah's problem as well, you know, don't lie.
Yeah. But do you think, Paul, it's fair for a sports star to lose a contract if a scandal hits?
It's a difficult question because going back to the stories that are breaking in England at the moment with different football stars, it's very difficult because being involved in the world of football, I know how easy it is for certain individuals to be able to go to the press, put a story out there, and everybody believes it. Straight away.
Or the damage is done.
And the damage is done. Yeah. And, you know,
whether it's true or not.
Whether it's true or not. And there has been, you know, stories in the media in years gone by which haven't been true, but yet they've really damaged an individual. So I think it's a tricky question, and I think that's where, you know, you've got to be strong in terms of both the sportsman and honesty, I think, as well. I think if a client has done something wrong and he knows he has, I think really if he's got an endorsement with a brand, I think he has to be honest in a private way with the brand and say, look, I have actually done this, and I apologise, but it's actually true. Because I think he can continue the damage he's already done if he continues to try and pull the wool over the brands.
And damage control is possible, you know, if everybody
and damage control is possible, absolutely. And I think there's also a borderline of in a way, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. You know, that there's definitely a borderline there.
Yeah.
I mean, the Nando's would actually work with it very well. If you really
Absolutely,
think
they'll
about
pick it up.
Somebody,
Yes.
yeah,
They'll pick it up.
that's
They'll
the
kind
other
of
thing.
work on it.
Some
But it depends
brands,
on the
some
brand,
brands love
yeah.
it because they can put a spin on it.
No, for sure.
And it
Controversial
works.
brands.
Yeah, and it
right?
works.
Or like
It
that,
works.
like,
It
yeah,
works.
But it's all about alignment, isn't it, Aresti?
Yeah.
So let's look at, for example, rugby stars and insurance. How do you think ever they got there? You know, Paul?
Yeah, I saw that. I think I saw that on the N1 going to Pretoria. Is one of
I
the
think
insurance
fabulous
companies.
for brand
Yeah,
loyalty.
I think
because we love those sports stars.
I think probably personally speaking, I mean, here in South Africa, I mean, rugby's, you know, very, very, very popular. And obviously somebody's driving down the highway, sees the famous rugby star on a billboard advertising the insurance. Yeah, why not?
Is it effective though, Aresti?
I don't know how effective it actually is, you know. I really don't.
Unless,
hard to judge,
you're driving past that billboard at the moment when you have to make the decision about your insurance.
Maybe.
You know, maybe then. But otherwise, if you sit and you weigh up your options, I don't know that a person who isn't
I think if
known in that field, because they're not how's a rugby star an insurance specialist?
the reality is, it depends how you use that celebrity. If he's just on that billboard, I don't know if it's
Maybe
it actually works.
maybe
But if you
integrated
integrate, if
campaign.
you
It's
kind of
always about
integrate it,
integration.
then it's
Yeah.
a different story.
No, for sure.
Back to
an
Oscar
open-end-
Pistorius and Nike.
Yes.
I mean, that
Yeah.
makes perfect sense because you look at it, just do it. There's a guy who does what no one thinks he should be able to do, and he just does it.
Well, let's leave it there. Melinda, Aresti and Paul, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us on Media and Money today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Whether you are a celebrity follower or not, it seems this very lucrative industry is here to stay.